Agriculture has always been important. Obviously, from the beginning of the county, it was all agriculture, very little urban and some small communities. And as we can see, that it's changed quite a bit.
Today, Union County, at the farm level, has over $400 million annually in farm level income.
The bulk of the county remains still agriculture, and not only is it dedicated to agriculture, it is one and remains one of the top producing ag counties in the state, and we continually rank to 1, 2, or 3 in all the major commodities that the state produces. And as you probably are aware or aren't aware, North Carolina's #1 industry is agriculture.
One other aspect of agriculture that has been big in Union County is the development of contract poultry production. What that involved was, in the early days, farmers grew a few chickens, had a few eggs for their family, but farmers saw the opportunity to sell eggs and poultry to markets like Charlotte. So those enterprising individuals began to provide the feed and the management for those birds, and the farmers provided the labor and the management. It was known as contract production, and Union County grew to become one of the largest contract poultry areas in the state of North Carolina, and remains that to this day. We're like #2 in broiler production in the United States. We are #1 in wheat production. Most of our wheat goes to like Charlotte for milling and produces flour, although some of it is also used in livestock feed.
The plant industry segment of agriculture for Union County, that's a growing, vibrant segment of our industry, because if you look at the number of greenhouses and nursery operations we have here, again, it's a case of being in the top 10 in the state in actual production.
We grow over 1,700 different varieties of plants. Because we grow so many different things, we grow in so many different configurations. From a multi-cell flat that you would buy in a hardware store of tomatoes, to landscapers' 1801 flats, 6-inch pots. There's so many different configurations that we grow in. Flat-wise, we do in the neighborhood of 100,000 flats, maybe a season, probably another 100,000 potted plants, be it 6-inch, gallon, 10-inch, 12-inch.
But with the people in place, the technology available, the progressiveness of the Union County agricultural community, along with the population centers that surround us, I believe that agriculture will remain a major component of Union County's economy.
Union is really a great county to see young folks coming back into the farming operation. And I think it goes back to the strength of agriculture here and to the diversity of agriculture here. There's opportunities for them to be engaged.
Union County was well known for their history, long history of 4-H. And I'm from a very strong 4-H family and a farm family. So I knew about 4-H very young. It was just interesting, and it means quite a bit. You know, it means everything pretty much, because you can see how that person was probably around 10 or 9 or 8 years old, and what has happened through their lifespan, and what made them get that way and that particular area, and how successful they are in life. You know, it just means a lot. You know, I know several people that when I started working with them, you know, they wouldn't say a word. They're very timid and everything, and some of them are teachers and professors and doctors and all. And, you know, it's just amazing, you know, that just to know that I had just a little bit part in that their careers and all. So it's just amazing, and that just makes me feel extremely well. You know, I could see that training and that 4-H work that they've done to kind of blossom out. You know, it's just great.
Unions, like a lot of other counties that have that rural heritage, where families have been able to stay on the farm, and farming folks have have a tie to the land that unless you have it, you really don't understand it.
One program we're particularly proud of in North Carolina is the Century Farms program. And what that involves is if a family has land has been in the family and farmed consecutively on an annual basis for over 100 years, you can apply and become a member of the Century Farms program in North Carolina.
It's heritage. It's agricultural heritage. It's the part of the land that you become. It's just ingrained in you, that you know that the land that you're steward of is land that your parents and your grandparents, and that has validity.
My family's been here for over 100 years. Originally it was a cotton farm back in the 1800s, and then it sort of evolved into row crop farming, which was wheat and corn, and then eventually we went into soybeans. And then when I was growing up, I grew up on a dairy farm, and we had dairy cows until I was about 14 years old, and then we went into the turkey business.
Today, to be able to say a family's owned that, had that farm in that family for 100 years, to me is just it's got to feel like a tremendous accomplishment. And there's got to be a real sense of ownership, sense of family that goes with it, I believe.
As agriculture has progressed across the nation and here in North Carolina, is we have fewer and fewer farmers farming more and more of the land. That does not take away from the fact that we have many families that are still rooted in agriculture and attached to the land by their farms, by their family, and what they remember as children growing up, generations after generations, tied to the land, tied to the farm. We have family farms who have maintained their living in agriculture. They've progressed in contract poultry. They've increased their acreage to where some people might consider them a mega farm, but they're still family farms run by a single family with sons, grandsons, daughters, and granddaughters actively participating in the operation.
It means so much because the heritage that you have behind you from your grandfathers who were farmers and your father who was a farmer, and in the tradition in the family. Plus, it's a wonderful place to raise your children, to give them a tremendous work ethic, and also it gives you a place in the community where you can be a contributor and be a very vital part of your community. The family farm is something that is being passed along as a heritage and a tradition, but it's also a business, and it is a business. And it's certainly aided by the fact that you have farming or people in your aspect of farming before you.
People in agriculture are genuine stewards of the environment, genuine stewards of the soil. That what we want is for this to continue, not for one generation or two, but in perpetuity. And we do what we do for that to happen.
I tell people a lot of times you really have to be stubborn because you have to be determined. And I suppose determined is a better word. You face a lot of obstacles. You face the forces of nature. You face a lot of financial obstacles and mechanical obstacles. But you have to be really determined, and you have to have a love of farming. You have to love the land.
To be a farmer, you have to love what you're doing. You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have a lot of good years and bad years. Challenges, every year is a different year. You don't know. You may have a good market this year, a bad market the next year. You might have a dry year, you might have a wet year. It's just a challenge. It's always changing.
What's it take to be a farmer? First off, you have to be an eternal optimist. Every day in agriculture is different. The weather is different. Commodity prices are different. Politics can affect your bottom line. Economics, weather, there's so many factors. So you have to be an eternal optimist. You have to be passionate about what you do. Most farmers that are involved in agriculture, they do it because they love it. There's something about putting that seed in the ground and nurturing that seed and watching that crop grow, driving that combine through it and watching that combine feel, it gives you a sense of satisfaction.
When you talk about agriculture in Union County, you're not just talking about one or two things. You're talking about a very diverse, dynamic industry.
So agriculture in Union County is big business. It's a very progressive business. We have some of the most educated and well-trained and progressive farmers in the state of North Carolina and in the United States for that matter. So we're proud of Union County agriculture.